Right, 1 minute. There we go. So is that live now?
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, it's live.
Just wait for a few people coming on.
You won't be able to see him, because I've got you on big screen.
How you doing, Brian, anyway?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Are you?
Yeah.
Good, thank you, mate, yeah.
Yeah. We're live now. We're just waiting for a few people to come on.
2 seconds.
No, that side up, that side. That's better.
Yeah, you've got quite a few watching now.
Okay, guys, it's me, Brian Cockrell, on the AKA the Taxman. We've got the amazing Matt Legg, boxer. Matt, welcome to the show, mate.
Thank you for having me, Brian. Yeah, I've been looking forward to it for a long while.
We have, yeah. We were supposed to come on a few months ago, but you had COVID, didn't you?
Yeah, I was going to come up to the house, and me and Katie had COVID, so yeah, put a spanner in the works. But yeah, we've finally made it.
Yeah, Matt, I'd like to go back to when you were a young lad, where you were born, so you can see. We'll say a bit like this is your life type of thing we're going to do. So
yeah,
when you first started, where were you born?
So I was born in a tiny little village in Northamptonshire called Drawton. It was just it had a church, a few houses, really peaceful, surrounded by fields, and I had a very, very peaceful, nice upbringing as a child. My dad worked in a farm, and my mum worked in the pub in the next village. So very peaceful. My dad was strict. He brought me up with manners, always please and thank you, never lie. And he was very strict on that as well. So I always thanked him for how he brought me up. And I'd get smacked and stuff if I didn't say please and thank you, or so I always thanked him for that, because he instilled it in me, and treat people how you want to be treated. He brought me up with as well. So we lived in that village for 6 years till I moved out when we were 6. Then we moved to Bedford, to a pub in Bedford, just 2 years in that pub. And then we made the move to Milton Keynes, to another pub, which is where I stayed for the rest of my life, in Milton Keynes.
Right. What was it like at school? What were you like at school?
At school, I'd like to think at the beginning, I was quite a good boy. I was quite a good student. I was probably fairly quiet. And then when I hit the age of, I think about 13, I went up to 6'2" at 13. So I was very tall. And what happened, I started getting people would want to fight me, like older people, like the toughest in the year above and the year above that. I'd get not picked on, but they would want to fight me, and I wasn't really into fighting then. Right. So what happened? I even had a bloke. I had a fully grown bloke, because I was so tall. A fully grown bloke at the age of 13 hit me in the face with a can of dog food straight on the cheekbone, because my one of my pals had it. You know, when you blow a balloon up and you let the air out the top and it squeaks. Yeah. My mate did that, and some bloke walked past, thought we were taking a mickey, which we weren't, and he hit me in the face with a can of dog food. This is all the age of 13. So the amount of fights I was getting into, people sort of having a go at me, I started weight training. I think you did as well, Brian, didn't you, at 13?
Yeah, it's the exact same age.
And the same thing, I got into pumping iron. I got into the Arnold films. I had 2 friends in Bradwell Village where I lived that were Jonathan and Dan Ellis. They were into weights, and I was inspired by them. So I started weight training to get strong, just to be able to defend myself. I trained in the gym in Wolverton. Bertil Fox was there as well. Bertil Fox used to train there.
Both. I've trained with him and yourself.
Yeah. He was a legend, wasn't he, Bertil? Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so I trained with him at a young age of 15, 16. I used to see him in the gym. So at the age of 13, I was sort of getting into a lot of fights, not starting fights, because my dad also brought me up. He always said to me, never start a fight, but if someone starts on you, then you fight back. And I always stuck to that. I took it a step further. If someone started on my friends, I'd always jump in as well. So most of the fights I had were for sticking up for friends. But so by the time I got to the age of 15, I was about 14 stone, 6'2". So I was quite a lump, especially going back that 30 odd years. I was big. So then the fights got a bit more serious. I had fights with, like, I remember one time 6 lads come up to school, and I saw them coming across the field, and I knew they'd come to fight me, and I had a fight with them, had a baseball bat on them, and I took a few clumps to the head and then grabbed the fellow and he hit me in the legs. But it didn't faze me. I always stood my ground, never backed down from a fight at that age. So I sort of started getting that reputation for getting in fights. Got arrested at 15, three or four times for ABH. And I looked at it as I was defending myself. One of the times it was three older lads had pushed me off my bike, so I got a bit of wood and hit the main bloke. But these are all things, yeah, that were happening at that age. So I left school 16, still weight training, so I was getting bigger and bigger. By the time I got to 18, I was almost 19 stone, which, I mean, we're going back 30 years. That was a bit, I mean, you get kids nowadays that big, but back then it was quite unusual, you know, back in our day. So I was about 19 stone. I was doing sort of, I had 18 and a half, 19-inch arms. I was doing 135-pound dumbbell incline press. Shoulder press, I was doing 105-pound seated shoulder presses, 110. So I was strong for my age and big.
Yeah.
And that's when the real trouble started then. So I got noticed by a firm that were doing some work, and they wanted me on their side as a bit of muscle. So I joined up with a firm, and we were working and doing bits and bobs. I travelled abroad, bits and bobs with them. Came back to Milton Keynes, and then I got into a fight. This is why I went to prison. I got into a fight in a nightclub because the doorman threw my mate down the stairs. So I've had a fight with a doorman. Police have come in and threw me out, and I've got the up now. So I waited outside till the club was closing, went back in and attacked the doorman. So I hit the first doorman, and I saw his molar come out of his mouth, and I've had a fight with the rest. Then the police come in, and I had a fight with them as well. So I got arrested that night, and then it was alleged that I got out the police station the following day and had another fight. This is alleged because I got arrested for this, but it was alleged that I had a fight, me and my mate, with nine off-duty firemen, and it was alleged that that bits of wood were used and weapons were used, and there was like broken bones and cuts and stuff like that. So I did an ID parade in the gym. I had to do an ID parade in the gym because I was big. They said they couldn't do it in the police station for some reason because they couldn't find anyone the same size. But we did an ID parade in a gym where I was just training, and I think only 1 out of 4 picked me out, so that case got dropped. Right. But then I had another fight this is in the space of a couple of months. So I had one with a doorman, and I've had another fight with police again, and then I was put on remand. This is when I was 18.
Right.
So things were going downhill. I mean, I still stick to the fact I don't start fights, but they always seem to follow me around, and I'll always jump in when I see someone in trouble. Yeah. 18, so I went to prison at 18 and bumped into Norman Buckland, who you know as well.
Who was the governor of the bare knuckle fight.
The governor, he won the governor title years back. And then back then, I mean, I'd known Norman from when I was 13. I used to see him on the door in one of the clothes shops in Milton Keynes. He was a legend, Norman, very well known, even from when I was a teenager. I used to look up to people like Norman, Lenny, and Lenny McLean, Roy Shaw, people that would have a fair fight or fight outnumbered. Them sort of people, same as you, like you, Brian. You know, you'll fight 5 or 6 men by yourself. You know what I mean? So I respected those type of people. Norman was one of them, and turned up in Woodhill, and Norman was in there. So Norman said to me, rather than fighting with the police and doorman and getting in trouble, why don't you channel your strength and your aggression to boxing? So what we tried to do, we tried to get equipment brought in, like gum shield, head guards, gloves. The prison officials wouldn't let us have anything. They said it was going to incite trouble. So anyway, we just did this boxing anyway. So what we would do, we would wrap a pair of socks around our knuckles, just a bit of protection. And me and Norman would go in the shower area and just literally like fight each other in the shower area. And it was meant to be like low key, but all the other prisoners, there was about 60 prisoners on the wing. They'd all come and watch through the window. So it was all on top. But yeah, we'd fight in there. Norman would give me a few digs, and we'd hit the shower button, and all the water would go on top of us. And it was like it was a tough introduction to boxing. That was my first introduction to boxing, and I thank Norman for getting me into it, because without him encouraging me, I don't think I would have done it.
You'd probably keep getting in trouble and going back to jail maybe.
I think I would have, Brian. Yeah, I think I would have. He really did push me the right way. I mean, I still got into fights and stuff when I got out of prison, but I had a focus on boxing.
Yeah, it's like being in the army a little bit. You get a regime, don't you? You're up training, you're running, and you get once you get into that little locked into that, it's better than getting into fight trouble down the town, because you know if you're in that ring fighting someone, it's all legal, but when you're in the streets, you can kill someone so easy with one punch.
Yeah, that's what I'd worry about now, is hitting someone now. Because when I used to have the street fights, I didn't know how to punch, so I wasn't a boxer by then.
Yeah.
But when you've got that know how to fight, I tend to try and avoid it. I would rather win a fight without fighting. So I'd rather have someone apologise and I walk away than have to fight. If you can win without fighting, win without fighting, or you can shout at someone and shout them down. I'd rather do that than fight. Like you said, if you hurt someone.
I remember once when I was in jail, I went to a jail in Haverick in Cumbria, rough jail, and a lot of lads, 600 lads, and I'm the only one from the northeast. So I can't hit anyone else because they're going to send me to Albany, they've told me. So I thought, anyway, I got in this bag, and the best fight was in. I sold this bag for us a bit, and it's a bit like Norman McIntyre held the bag.
Yeah.
30 shots, he went, fucking hell, you'll kill someone to get one of them. You become the best fighter by showing the skills on the bag. So that was a good way not to get into a fight.
Yeah, well, I saw you on the pads. I saw your pad work. That looked good, mate. Sharp and strong for that, especially for that size.
Yeah.
So, and when you know you can hit, one punch is all it takes, and someone hits their head on the floor. So I've got out of prison at 18 and started at the amateur boxing at the time. Various clubs in Milton Keynes, Newport Pagnell. We had the Royals and a few other clubs. So I was getting trained at amateur, and I wasn't taking it seriously. I'd have one or two fights, and then I'd go drinking and forget it for a year. I never really took it seriously until I was about early 20s, and I met Ricky English, who Ricky English was partners with Joey Pyle on the unlicensed shows, the governor fights. So Ricky and Joey were partners on them. But Ricky was my main amateur trainer. So he trained me for about 10 fights, and I think I won 9 of them, almost all by knockout, or most by knockout. So what Ricky did, he got me in that Mike Tyson type style, the low bobbing and weaving, getting underneath the punches. He really trained. Peekaboo, that's it, peekaboo. He trained me, he drilled that into me so that I would be low and attack, because he knew I had an attacking style.
Yeah.
And we won all the novices, so I beat all the champions in the novices. I think I stopped them all one week after another. Got to be the novice champion, super heavyweight. And then we went straight into the senior ABAs, the proper big ones. And I got all the way through to the final. On the way through, I fought the London champion, Ray McCallum. We had all these fights were on YouTube. So if anyone wants to watch them, you can see them on YouTube. I fought Ray McCallum, beat him. The following day, I beat the Western Counties champ, Nick Kendall. And then I was in the final. And I got to the ABA final. So if I'd have won this fight, I would have been the number 1 in the country. And I lost by 1 point, I was heartbroken, but I lost by 1 point. He was the only man to beat me in the amateurs. He beat me twice, actually. He beat me by 2 points a couple of years earlier. Matthew Granger, his name was. So Frank, do you remember Frank Maloney at the time? Now Kelly Maloney.
Yeah.
Frank had taken an interest, and he'd been following me. He'd been following me around the country, watching my amateur fights. And he said to me, "When you win the ABAs, we're going to sign you up with me and Frank Warren." And as I lost in the ABA, so I didn't think he'd sign me up, but he did. He signed me up with the same deal, really good money back then. This was 20 years ago, and I think he gave me a good deal, like $5,000 a fight I was getting, which 20 years ago was good. I think a lot of them, the other pros, were on a couple of grand. So he signed me up with Frank Warren and Frank Maloney. I forgot, Sports Network it was called. And my first pro fight was on the Danny Williams, Julius Francis rematch at Wembley Conference Centre. I was the last fight and I got in just after they got out. So I started off on some good shows. And Ricky English was my trainer still. And I think I fought on Johnny Nelson's undercard, John Faxton's, and a few big shows back then, a few big boxing shows. Trained with Ricky. I lost my 4th fight, and then I sort of fell out of boxing again, and I got back involved with stuff I shouldn't have been doing again.
Right.
You know how it is, and trying to earn money. Did that for a couple of years, and then got back into the boxing in 2008, and that's when I boxed back in Watford, and I had Roy Shaw came up, Norman, we had
Brilliant.
Manny Clark there, all the Dave Courtney all came to support me in the comeback. And Anthony Joshua told me he was there as a young kid. So this was 2008. He would have only been, I think, about 19, but he was there supporting me as well before he was well known, which he told me about. So yeah, that was the boxing. Then I was trying to keep out of trouble. I had my first son was born, Matty Jr. He was born, and I was sort of dedicated to him. And we had I had another few years out of the boxing from 2008. But in that time, I was still doing a bit of debt collecting, stuff like that, just trying to keep out of trouble, but focus on the boxing. And it was about, when was it? 2013. I got an offer to fight in the prize fighter. So I had I just got back in training with Sean Byrne from Northampton, and Sean had started training me. I won one fight against the Hungarian, Radek Linka. Then I got the offer to fight in prize fighter with James Toney. So there was a possibility if I got drawn, I would fight James Toney.
Good fighter. Yeah.
Brilliant fighter, James Toney. He knocked out Evander Holyfield, didn't he?
Yeah, he's really good. Very
Powerful.
powerful.
He was one of the best defensive boxers of all time as well. Very powerful. His defense was amazing. Even at 45, when I fought him, he had that slippery style. I mean, even Floyd Mayweather apparently copied him. I got told Mayweather copied James Toney.
I'm just going to mention he has that Floyd Mayweather look about where 1 minute he's here, the next second he's here.
Yeah. He's got that shoulder roll. So you fire a punch and he slips it and he just counters you.
Yeah.
And the mad thing about that fight was I knew you couldn't knock him out because he's never been knocked out in 90 fights, James Toney.
Amazing.
And when we got the call, because we all stayed in a hotel the night before, so it was the American team versus the English team, and we all had dinner together. So the Americans would sit with the English team, which was strange because we were going to all fight each other the following day. But James Toney stayed up in his room. He wouldn't come down. And when he did come down for the photo shoots, he was trouble towards the Sky Sports, but he was quite arrogant, which we thought he was arrogant, but he's not. He's actually a lovely bloke. But he sort of kept his distance. And the American team said to me, when I got drawn him, they gave me advice. They said, do not try and knock him out. You will never, ever knock him out. No one will. They said, so just touch him and move around him. Touch him and move. Just try and win on points. Which it goes against my style. My style is more attack. So so the following day when I went to fight him, that's why I came out boxing a little bit differently, because you can't just steam into him. So I did that, got caught in the last round with a brilliant counter shot, which it stunned me for a second, but I don't think I should have been stopped. Have you seen the fight, Brian?
Yeah, I think it should have went on.
It should have carried on, shouldn't it? Yeah. I wasn't.
You went flat.
Yeah.
All faculties are all there.
That's it. I had Scott Welsh in my corner. Scott Welsh and Mervyn Turner, Sean Byrne, Scott Welsh from Snatch. He was the British champ, and I think he fought for the world title. He was in my corner. He fights Brad Pitt in Snatch, and who else was there? Sean, but Joe Egan was there supporting me. Joe Egan come in the dressing room. So I've known Joe for a long while.
Lovely man.
Yeah, good man, Joe. Me and Joe have been in a few films together, done a few little bits of work and helping people out here and there, me and Joe. But so that was the James Toney fight. After the fight, he was lovely. We had a bit of food together and he was giving me advice and tips. Brilliant. I even got gloves signed. He came to Milton Keynes and I got some gloves signed by him a couple of days later. So I've got some gloves at home that I fought him with that he signed. So I've got gloves that have actually punched James Toney. So, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's like boxing. You see them all screaming at each other before they're fighting. That I'm going to get this, I'm going to do that. And then they have respect. As soon as that bell finishes, they're over cuddling each other. I love you to bits. And I'll come to my house, have dinner, come meet me wife. It's really hate each other, really. It's just all hyping it. A lot of it, because the respect. It's the hardest game in the world, hardest sport in the world. and they love the people have got for each other. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, you ever see Mike Tyson? He always used to go over and cuddle. He'd pick the opponent off the floor when he'd knocked him out and cuddle him. He's another one of my heroes. I mean, Mike Tyson's one of my heroes, and I was lucky enough to meet him a few times and sit on the table with him. And that's one of the things with boxing. You get to meet these people, and the respect and stuff. But yeah, Mike Tyson, definitely one of my heroes.
Yeah,
and it is.
So where did it go from there after the?
So after that one, I had another fight in Milton Keynes, and I think I knocked the fella out in the first or second round. Sort of journeyman from Eastern Europe, and then I had a phone call. I was on a building site and I was lifting. I was just trying to get fit again. So there was two lads that were carrying these plasterboard sheets up these stairs, and they jacked the job in. They were both carrying them together, and the bloke said, "Do you want to do the job that they were doing, which was carrying 40 kilo sheets?" I was doing 100 a day up these stairs, so it was like 4 ton of plasterboard a day, and I was super fit when I got the call for the AJ fight, and Mervyn Turner called up and said, "We've been offered. Do you want to fight AJ at Wembley?" I think it was in about 6 weeks.
Back there, I don't know who he is. He's Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua,
who at the time he'd had about, I think he had 6 fights. He'd knocked everyone out in first and second round. So he was a big name, Olympic champion, super heavyweight Olympic champion, very big name in Britain. So I straight away said, I'll definitely fight him 100%. I didn't even think twice. And if I'm honest, I would have fought him for no money. It was on the biggest night in British boxing. It was on the Carl Froch George Groves rematch and at Wembley Stadium. So there was going to be 90,000 people there for the main event. So it's not one of the things you can turn down, is it?
Well, it's like the Olympics of boxing, isn't it? Being there.
Yeah. Especially to fight at the new Wembley, because it was a new Wembley Stadium and no one had boxed there yet. So me and AJ were the first people to box at the new Wembley Stadium, which was quite an honour. Anyway, before that fight, I got a phone call from Ricky English, and Ricky said to me, he goes, "You do know that Anthony Joshua used to support you years ago," which I was surprised. I didn't know that. And when I bumped into Anthony at the press conference the day before, I asked him, and he said, "Yeah." He goes, "I've always supported you from years ago," which was a shock. I was surprised. And then we had to fight the following day, and the tactics were this is the following day. Before that, I've been doing all my sparring sessions. I'll tell you about the sparring. So before the James Toney fight, we went up to spar with Tyson Fury. But I sparred Tyson a few years before then. So
can you just tell everyone what he said? Because you told me he said something like, "All you pussy heavyweights dance spar with me," and you got on the phone to him. And can you just tell that bit?
What had happened? This was a few years back. He was at British level. I think he just fought John McDermott, so he wasn't globally known then. Yeah. And he was actually on Facebook then. He had his own Facebook account, but he was known in Britain. And he put a status on Facebook, and he put, "All you British heavyweights, you're all pussies. None of you will spar me, let alone fight me." Right? So I went on there and I said, "I'll spar you, and how much you paying?" And he came back with, "The pay is 10 grand if you knock me out." so I obviously I thought I'm not going to knock him out. So I said, "How much are you paying if I don't knock you out?" And he's told me the wage. It was a good wage for doing 4 rounds. So I said, "I'll come up there tomorrow," which I did. I hadn't even been training. I was unfit. I hadn't done any boxing at all. And I got on the train the following morning, went up to Manchester, and Tyson and Shane picked me up from Manchester train station, drove me to the caravan site, and we went on. There's the gym in the caravan site. So there's just us three in the gym, warmed up. Shane got in, and Shane done the first round, and then I got in and did the second. And the minute I got in, because he's 6'9", 6'9", he's massive. I'm 6'2". And he's got his arms are so long as well. But the minute I got in there, I thought this is going to be hard work. And he just played around with me basically. He caught me with a few shots, and we done 4 rounds. I caught him with 1 punch in the whole time, and that was right in the last round. I caught him with a left hook, like flush on the chin, and he just shook it off.
He's got an exceptional chin, hasn't he? He's got an exceptional reach. exceptional footwork, stamina. He's got everything, and he's got the whole.
He's got everything. His boxing brain, second to none. Chin, anyone that can get up from those knockdowns from Wilder and then win the next round with the next part of the round that's amazing to see that, because Wilder demolished everyone, didn't he?
I think my theory there, Matt, is that he's got Jesus in his heart, because only Jesus could have got that floor. Any human being, whoever they were, would not have got up. Jesus was in him that night, and he just got up, and he has got Jesus in his heart. He's proved that time again. He's a lovely man. But what I loved about him, he come out that he said he had mental health issues. He struggled with drugs. He struggled with this, and he's just so honest. And I like people like that. Rick Tyson's the exact same. I've done it myself. Come out and nowhere near your type of levels, but as a fighter, as a street fighter, you get that depression. You end up on drugs and stuff. It's terrible. But to come out and help other people who are struggling and saying, "There's not wrong with me," you've got to tell the truth. You've got to say, "Look, I need help." And if you ask for help, you will get help. Yeah,
I mean, he's done wonders for so many people, and they can now look up to someone so strong and know that he suffers the same mental health problems as they do. He's done. I mean, he's turned it around. He's turned everything around, and he's such a loved sportsman now. I mean, I met him years and years ago when the public had the opposite view. He wasn't really that taken in by the public, and I always said he's a lovely bloke. When you meet him, he's lovely. I mean, he does stuff for the cameras, but I said in the flesh, he's brilliant, and he's proven it now with what he's done. He's one of our most beloved sportsmen.
We hope to get him on here one day.
Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? I'm sure you will. You will.
Yeah. So getting back to yours, what happened then at when you train, when I've been fighting, obviously totally different. When you're training to fight someone, it's totally different. If you're in a pub and it kicks off, there's no worries because you have a fight and it's over spontaneously. But when somebody says, "I want to fight in 6 weeks," you go, knock him out in front of all your friends. I'm going to win. All of a sudden in bed you go, "What if he beats me?" Over that, a lot of fighters pretend they don't have that, but everyone has it, don't they?
Yeah, you do. You play it over in your mind. You go over all these scenarios in your head, and you've just got to try and constantly think of the one where you win. Because I went into the Anthony Joshua fight convinced that I was going to win, because you've got to. And the way we planned was just to go all out for 2 rounds, put so much pressure on him that no one else had ever done, and just get low attacks. So every time he threw a jab underneath, if you watch the fight, I'll go underneath. Yeah. Every time he throws a jab, I'm slipping, and I'm just countering every shot, trying to catch him with a big shot. Because we thought that's the only way. I'm not going to outbox him over 8 rounds. So we thought just go full out for 2 and hope to catch him. Tyson Fury called up the day before the Anthony Joshua fight, and he said, this is Tyson's advice. He said, give it everything you've got for 1 round. He went, kick him in. He goes, kick him in the nuts, bite him, headbutt him. He was joking, obviously, but but he said that. And I know when they were watching the fight, they were all watching it, Tyson, Peter, and everyone. When they saw me, it looks like I land a big left hook. They were all cheering and so during the build-up, I did some sparring. I was doing my sparring. Who was I sparring with? Tom Little. I sparred with for that, and just trained as hard as I could. Did my runs, my stair runs. Just got as fit as I could. I was in good shape. I think I went down to 16 stone 6 for that. I think AJ was about 16.10. He was very fast back then. He was very fast at a lighter weight. We had the press. Sorry, mate.
You did say to me that you sparred with everyone, like Tyson Fury, everyone. He said, but when I fought AJ, his power was how you said that we hit you with,
Yeah, I mean, when I've sparred over the years with 5 people that fought for the world title, no one ever really troubled me at all. Never got floored in sparring. I did 150 rounds with Matt Skelton when he was British, Commonwealth, European champ. So every morning I would do 6 rounds. Sometimes I'd be out drinking all weekend in the pub and I'd go and spar him on the Monday, but normally I'd be on the ball. I did so many. Derek Chisora, I had some spars with Derek Chisora, and I pushed him back, and I was stronger than Derek when we sparred.
I think Derek Chisora is a fantastic fighter. A lot of people don't know how good he is, Matt.
He's brilliant. He's
And he's
tough as anything.
Strong as a bull.
But when we sparred, I felt like I was a stronger. But I mean, it was on the way out. We'd had about 10 fights apiece, or 8 or 9 fights apiece when we sparred. But as he went on, he got tougher and tougher. He was brilliant. I sparred Danny Williams. I sparred back in the day. Do you remember Danny Williams, who beat Mike Tyson?
Yeah, he beat Mike Tyson. I remember he was a big, strong lad, wasn't he?
Danny was brilliant. Lovely bloke as well. One of my favourite boxers, Danny. And he beat Mike Tyson. He had some brilliant wins. He's still boxing now. I think he's had about 70 or 80 fights.
Yeah.
So the sparring is a big part of it, because that's the nearest thing to the fight. That's a replica of the fight. So yeah, I've got to mention as well, when I was in the amateurs, I had some good fights. I fought one of the Joyce family, Big Paul Joyce, and that's on YouTube as well. One of my favourite fights. Big Paul Joyce was 6'5", 25 stone, unbeaten bare knuckle fighter, unbeaten boxer as well. And we got in and we fought. We became friends after that, and we used to go and spar Matt Skelton and Michael Sport together. But that was one of my toughest amateur fights. Was Big Paul Joyce, yeah.
Yeah. So what happened when you went to the AJ fight then?
Yeah. So on the day of the AJ fight, I got up.
What were you feeling like as you were going into the fight that day?
Well, I was meant to stay in a hotel down in London, but I didn't want to. I stayed in my own house the night before, and I had a jacuzzi and a sauna in the morning, and I got on the train just by myself and went to London to Wembley that afternoon. I'll be honest, that was the one fight I was more. I don't normally get that nervous, but that was the one fight I had more nerves, because it was such a big occasion.
Yeah.
And you've also got to get a bloke in front of you, 6'6", 17 stone, absolute machine. He was breaking people's cheekbones and everything, in eye socket, everything in the fights before. So you know you've got your work cut out. So I was more nervous, but also I thought, I've just got to go out and give it everything. It was more nerves than normal. When I fought James Toney, I didn't think James would have been able to hurt me. But with AJ, you know you've got that danger of getting hurt because of how strong he is.
Yeah.
So when I walked out to the ring, because of the size of Wembley Stadium as well, it was someone, I think it was AJ, said it was like walking out into a gladiator arena because it's so big.
Yeah.
And it was daunting. When we fought, it was 30,000 people there, so it looked empty, because when it was full, it had 90,000. But when you walk out into that, it is an unusual feeling, because you're in the broad daylight as well. And it was.
Yeah. So what happened? What was the?
So when the fight started, I just steamed straight into him, just attacked him straight in, and every time he threw a jab, I was underneath, and I was doing quite well actually at the beginning, avoiding the shots, and I caught him with a couple. I even went like that. I went, come on, because I got a bit confident, and I went like that, come on, and I caught him again with another little shot. And if you watch the video, you can see him thinking like, Matt's going for it, and then he just he worked out the tactics, and he would feint, let me move, then he hit me, and he hit me through the gloves at one point, and I blocked, and the punches just went straight through. Even with a block, they go through the gloves.
Right.
He hits that hard, and then when he blocked, I bent forward and he hit me with an uppercut that just knocked me down. I only got knocked down twice as a pro, only twice ever, even in street fights. I only got knocked down twice, and that was that. AJ was one of them. But the broken eye socket, when I fell down and as I tried to get up, I couldn't see out of my eye. I thought it felt like blood was pouring out of both my eyes.
Yeah.
I had 3 months worth of nerve damage on the right side of my face. Was numb for 3 months. Right. So all the feeling had gone. But you could still pin in it, and it was just gone. And eventually the feeling came back. But I think
boxing, that's about the worst injury you can get, because you can't carry on because you can't see.
Yeah, I couldn't see it, and as I tried to get up, and you can see in the video, I was feeling my eye, and I didn't know if blood was coming out or what had happened. But he came to my dressing room after. I was in the shower though, so I missed him. But he came in to sort of say hello and all that, but I missed him. But it was the only time I got injured in boxing was that. I had a broken rib once, but I never got a broken nose. Nothing really.
Yeah. So what was it like? What have you spoke to him since then? You must have.
Yeah. Spoke to him since. He was at a charity event and someone bumped into him and said they knew me, and he sent a message saying, "Give Matt my love" and stuff like that. And he was at someone else.
Yeah, he's another good lad, and he helped charity.
Yeah, he's a good lad. Yeah, someone else saw him at a film premiere as well, which was and he said hello. which is another thing that I was going to mention as well. Is through the boxing. This is why I encourage my son. I've got 3 boys, Matty, Max, and Mason, and I encourage them to box. Matty Junior's boxed.
Mason's watching us now. Hello, Mason.
Oh, is he on there?
Yeah.
Oh, he'll love that. He'll love that he got a shout out. Yeah. Mason's the youngest. He's 12, so he's not got into anything yet. But Matty Junior, who's 20, he's had a few fights. He's a good fighter. And I always say to him, look, I got to go to film premieres, and I got to get to know Tom Hardy and people like that, and it's all through boxing. So
Tom Hardy is one of my favourite actors. I think he's fantastic. He was a bit of a bad lad, pitching cars and things when he was young.
Yeah.
And dedicated.
Tom was into drugs. He was doing drugs. He's well known. He's said it himself. He was into drugs. Same sort of thing. He was into nicking cars, and he's turned his life around. He hasn't had a drink now for, I think, 15, 16 years.
I think his wife is from our area, isn't she, Emma?
Yeah. She's from up north. Yeah, Charlotte. Yeah,
she's from here.
Yeah, she's lovely, Charlotte. I met Tom through Charlie Bronson, because Charlie sent me a letter to thank me for letting him train at my gym if he got out. I said to his family, Lorraine and Andy, if Charlie gets out, he's welcome to train. And he sent me a nice big letter with all his training routine on. So I replied to him, and then we started corresponding. And then he said to me, they're doing a film about my life. Would you go down to London with the family and meet the actor? I mean, Tom wasn't well known then, back in 2007. So we all went down to London and met Tom. And Tom got a picture with me, which I was he got a selfie with me, which I was unbelievable. I didn't know who he was, and then I said to my dad, "Do you know this actor called Tom Hardy?" He went, "Yeah. He's in Black Hawk Down. He's in this." He goes, "Yeah, he's brilliant." So I rung Tom up and said, "Tom, my dad's a big fan of yours." Put him on the phone to my dad, but yeah. Got to get to know Tom a bit, and had a few nights out with Tom. He took me to the Iron Man film premiere once, which was amazing. You know, the first ever Marvel film.
Downey Jr. who was in that.
Robert Downey Jr. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Tom called up and took me down there. So I met up with Tom before, and we walked over at Leicester Square, walked down the red carpet. Robert Downey Jr. was there, and Gwyneth Paltrow. That was one of the highlights. That was, you know, one of them nights that you just dream about doing. It was amazing.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. flying all over.
yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah, you sat there and you think back to, and you go back to when you're a kid in the little village on a farm. Yeah. I'm sat here. I mean, but the thing is, people realise this, Matt, is they're celebrities because we've actually done what we've done in real life. They've only acted. So when they meet you, you think, I'm going to meet such and such today, and celebrities I've got to meet, and they're more fascinated with you than you are with them.
Yeah, you do find that. A lot of actors and people, they're interested in the criminal and the fighters. The criminals and the fighters. Yeah, there is an interest in it. Yeah.
I mean, Mike Tyson's in all that. He loves it. He says the toughest guys are from England, or the bare knuckle fighting. Mike Tyson. He's in them all that.
Yeah, I saw it. He talks about the craze and stuff, Tyson does. And Charlie Bronson, I've seen him mention Charlie Bronson. Yeah, he mentioned that the other day. The toughest people are from England.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So what was the next step after that when you boxed? Did you after the AJ?
So after that AJ fight, I was lined up for a Southern Area title fight, which was about 4 or 5 weeks later on, and I was already booked in for it. But I was dying to fight again because I thought anyone who comes after AJ is going to seem easier, and I thought I wanted to capitalize on all the publicity I got and all that stuff. So because of the eye socket was broken. It took 3 months to heal. So the boxing, they closed my fight off. I couldn't fight because you get a ban if you get injured in a fight. You're banned, and I couldn't fight again. So I ended up working up north in Liverpool on another job, thanks to my mate Adam Greenfield. And that was it. I didn't retire from boxing. I just never got the opportunity to go back to it again.
Right,
which was a shame because I really wanted to get another load of fights in.
Yeah. So what do you do now then, Matt?
At the minute now, I'm back training people. I've just started off training people again, whether it's for fitness or boxing or to fight. I'm training pad work and stuff like that. Just doing all that. I was working as a supervisor on building sites, but I left that job. But I'm back on the training now. I started training New Year's Day. laying off the drink now, getting healthy again. As you know, my Kate is she's at church at the minute. She's coming back from church. But yeah, I'm with Katie now, living in a little village outside Milton Keynes, nice and peaceful. Back to a village, really. So I've gone back.
Yeah, it's nice to be somewhere peace and quiet, isn't it? Than all the chaos.
Yeah. Well, I still, when I was in Milton Keynes, I was still getting into fights. I had a fight. I mean, I got injuries. You can see on my finger. That happened about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I had a fight with someone, finger snapped. I had a fight. I don't start these fights. I had a fight in a casino about 3 years ago. A couple of lads threw a drink on a girl. So I'm asking what happened, and it ended up in a fight. Someone's hit me from the side, and my jaw got broken. And I chased them around the casino. It was carnage. I'm banned from every casino because of that. I didn't start it, but I got banned from every casino in Britain. So he just follows me around. So I've moved out of Milton Keynes to a little village.
I believe you're good friends with Frank Bruno.
Frank, yeah, I know Frank. Yeah, Manny Clark. He introduced me to Frank about 10 years ago. There's a little bit of trouble was going on, so me and Manny were going to help Frank out, and we went out for a meal with Frank. And ever since then, I see Frank around, or I go to his house. Took him on the pads. And he's got a man cave out the back. Took him on the pads. Yeah, Frank trains 3 times a day. He's always training because he has the same as Tyson Fury and a lot of people with the mental health problems. Yeah, he's had bipolar, depression, and anxiety. So he trains 3 times a day just to keep those demons away. Yeah, he's lovely, Frank. Yeah, he's in great shape for 60 as well. Amazing shape.
It's brilliant, isn't it? But it's that depression. It's like I say to people, it's like a storm. You can be sitting in the garden, beautiful, lovely day. All of a sudden, boom, the lightning comes, thunder, rains like mad. That's like depression can hit you. 5-year-old, 95-year-old. But the thing is, a lot of tough guys go, "No wrong with me. It's not wrong with me." But there is something wrong with you. You need to go and see someone. And then they sit there and suffer in silence. Stop trying to be tough and suffer in silence. Go and get help. That's what you've got to do. You've got to someone who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, that's why it's good that it's so many people are talking about it now, like yourself and Tyson Fury, Frank, and people are bringing it out. And it's not a stigma attached to it. There's no stigma now.
Yeah, people think, I'm not telling people I'm mentally ill. I'm not telling. Well, you are. If you are, you've got to.
Dale Brendan Hyde, saying hello to the pair of you.
Oh, hello, Dale.
Yeah, he's a good guy, Dale.
Loads of people.
Yeah. I'll say hello to Lee Wortley as well, and well done on Norman's book.
Lee Wortley. He never told me. He never told me this. 6 months later, he told me he was a Scouser.
Oh yeah.
Before he started doing the book.
Talking about Scousers, can I mention my mate Jimmy Andrews? Jimmy Andrews is very well known up in Liverpool. He was friends with Lenny McLean, and he knows everyone who's from the old time to the new. He knows everyone. He's got a book coming out next year as well. He'd be great for the podcast. He's an amazing life story. Mixing with the Craze and Lenny and Joey Pyle, the Richardsons, and all the modern day villains he knows as well. But yeah, Jimmy Andrews, his book's coming out next year, which would be amazing. It'll be great to get on the podcast as well, maybe after the book comes out.
Yeah, that'd be good. Everything. On it, everyone. Well, I just ask you. I just touched on something there. Just the old school fighters and old school people like ourselves. They've gone now. There's no respect no more. Kids are carrying knives everywhere. I've never even seen a knife as a kid. All the time, I've seen a knife as one eating jam and bread or something. That was it. Oh, they're carrying knives. It's like an epidemic. It's gone crazy.
Yeah. I mean, my son Matty Jr. He had 2 of his best mates killed in the same party a few years ago. 2 only 17-year-olds. The lads turned up with balaclavas and killed the 2. And I know the parents of them as well. And my son would have been at that party, but he decided to go to another party, so he may have been killed as well. So Milton Keynes has been a lot of knife crime. It's totally different to when we were young. I mean, I've had a couple of knives pulled on me over the years, but it's just it's a shame how it's gone like this. That's why there's a few charities. My friend Carl Haniff has got Keeping Kids Off the Street. My other friend Danny B, he's setting up little boxing gyms to try and encourage kids to go into boxing gyms. We're in the process of doing it actually at the minute. We've had some meetings and stuff to try and encourage and focus the kids to do boxing or any type of sport. anything to get them away from the street. And it's a gang culture. They just follow the gang culture.
They do. And the thing is, when you get into that gang, you're only 10, 12-year-old carrying drugs. When you get caught, you go to jail for a long time. They're getting thousands of pounds. They give you £50 for carrying a bag of drugs that you're going to get you 5 years. The thing is, it's great to be with them because they're in big cars, big jewellery, gold, watches, and all that crap. They're just immaterial. No good when you do a year in an 86 cell or 25 year for life. Stabbing someone. But I say to kids, if you're any good at fighting on the streets, get in the gym and train, and then get in that gym and make yourself a living like you did.
Yeah, because I think the morals have gone. The morals have disappeared on some of the kids nowadays. There's no honour either. So it's like they're quite happy. 10 of them to gang up on one. I've seen it in Milton Keynes. 10 of them gang up on one. Where's the honour in that? I mean, I'd rather fight 10 people than me gang up on one. I'd rather, because there's more honour in that. But it's just all changed. I don't know if it's because there's no discipline. You're not allowed to tell your kids off now, are you? So when I was young, I'd get smacked by my dad, and that instilled discipline. But you can't do it now. So
there's no deterrence. We used to get the cane at school.
Yeah.
You get the cane, you get the slipper. Your mum and dad. Somebody would say, "I want to tell your mum and dad." You think, "Oh shit, my mum's going to go mad."
Yeah,
no, they're not bothered. What happens now is the kids are telling their mum and dads how to live their life. The kids are the mum and dads. 40, 50 girls are telling the mums and dads off. It's gone reverse.
I think that's what it is. There's no discipline. Social media causes a lot of it. Is that Eli in the background?
Yes, little Eli.
How's he getting on?
He's the boss of the house.
Already.
Yeah, look at him.
He's lovely. He's lovely. Yeah.
Little bull. Just kids now, they've lost. I'm not being disrespectful, but it's the government as well. The government could help a lot more. I mean, we live in an area, there's 21,000 people live here. There's nowhere for the kids to play. There's 5,000 kids live here. There's no school to play on. There's no football. When we were kids, you'd go on the local football field. You were allowed to go on the school field. You're not allowed to go on the school field after hours now and things like that. There's no. There used to be youth clubs when we were kids. There was jazz bands used to go in, all these mad things, and you could get away from it and go in the army cadets and stuff like that. But there seems to be nothing for the kids to do, so they're all just following each other. Yeah,
that's why I'm really trying to highlight Carl Haniff and these people around that are trying to get these boxing gyms sorted just to keep the kids off the street.
We'll come on the podcast, Brian.
Yeah, of course you can. Carl,
we've got him on Facebook.
Come in.
Yeah. Tina Shaw's just said hello.
Oh, Tina.
Yeah.
Oh, Tina. Yeah. I'll say hi, Tina.
Yeah.
Her dad was a proper fighter.
Oh, Roy. I didn't mention Roy a lot, but Roy, I was lucky enough to I got to know Roy, and he came to 2 of my fights in Watford, and I've got some footage of me and Roy in the dressing room where he came backstage after. And Roy was another hero of mine. He was a gentleman as well. Yes. Very he wasn't loud mouthed and he wasn't aggressive. He was very polite, old school, very he's very humble. The first time I met him, actually, I said to Tina didn't remember, it was about 20 something years ago, and it was in Essex, and I said to Tina, do you mind if I get a picture of your dad? And she went, yeah, he's been up all night. They're on a session. He was about 66. But he looked so fit and so strong for 60. I think he was 65 or 65. But yeah, I was visiting Roy right up until he died. In fact, the day Roy passed away, I was booked in to visit him where he was. Me and Gary were going to go and see him, and sadly Gary rang up and said, Dad's passed away. So yeah. I did go and visit him in where he was at the end.
Old school values. He had be one of them, wouldn't let women get hit. He'd jump in if there was 5 guys onto one. It's just like we would do, just old school values. But that's gone now because, like you said, what's the glory of 5 or 6 onto one man? That went out. Good working out.
I've never understood that. I mean, when I was 15, 16, I remember being in a pub when I was 16 in a place called Toaster, about 10 miles where I live, and I saw a gang of lads who were older than me picking on one lad, and I was only 16, and I went over to the lads and said, if you want to fight someone, fight me, because they were picking on the one lad. And I went outside and dealt with the main one, and the rest of them didn't want to know. But that sort of thing, I could never understand the way how they get glory out of ganging up on 1 or 2 people.
I like the other odds for the 30 onto you. You're on your own.
Yeah, there's glory in that.
Win, lose, or draw, you can't lose.
Yeah, that's what I used to say. You can't because you've shown that you're brave and you're willing to. It's not bullying. You can't be called a bully when you do that.
No.
But yeah, I totally agree. That's what you've done, Brian, all your life, and yeah.
I tell a funny story. We were on the like Emma knows what I'm on about. We worked in a place called the Coliseum, but it was called Henry Africa's before then. It was a place where you'd have a guest every night, like Bernard Manor and Beyond. We look after all the old Bay City rolls, the hot chocolate and things like that. All of them every night there was a different guest on. So one weekend we'd had a fight with these gang of lads. So they started to wait for us. There were 7 of us on the door and we came out the gates. There's about 30 or 40 of them all stood. And what we're going to do? I said, I'll show you what we'll do. I went, charge! I ran at them.
Yeah.
About 30 of them.
Yeah.
Off, but he hit one, broke his jaw, and he ended up on the bed. Well, that was a true story.
Yeah.
There's only 7 of us.
Do you know what I find, Brian? If you don't show fear, even with a gang, you just give it. I used to give it a real big shout and scream, and they think even if there's 8 or 9 of them, don't ever show weakness. Because the minute you turn your back and show weakness, they'll jump on you. But if you give it the shouting and the confidence, you can win sometimes without having to fight against them gangs. But yeah, I liked what you said.
Yeah,
I like what you said about the book. You know, you held your book up the other day, and you said the hardest man in Britain. You said I never said that, but no one challenged it, did they?
No.
Yeah.
It's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what do you feel like the future is for the kids?
Kids in general.
I think we need to help people like you and I and other people,
Yeah.
iconic figures who boxing, who've trained, or any type of sport, running, anything. We have Phil Taylor came when he's from Stoke-on-Trent way down there. He said the same. Terrible the knife crime, and we've talked with Big Joe Egan. He said the same. We've talked to all celebrities, so we're trying to get people together now to try and help the kids. Like the things we've done in the past, we know we've done wrong. Some of the things we've done wrong or whatever, we've been to jail for. We don't want the kids to follow us. We don't glorify any crime whatsoever. But if you're going to get into a fight and get in the gym and train there and learn boxing or kickboxing and learn a way, because in the streets, if you're going to fight people, you're going to get stabbed to death these days. Yeah.
I mean, it's totally different. You can't do what we were doing and fighting people because they pull knives out now. There's no fair fights anymore. I said to my sons, there's no. My middle son, he's 16. He's had in the last 3 months 2 incidents where people have pulled gang of 9 or 10 have pulled machetes on him.
Yeah.
He's had to fight. He had to fight them. He's physically on his own against 9 of them in the broad daylight in a shopping centre, and they've got swinging a knife at him. So they swung a knife. He's leant back and he's hit one. He's had then they've bumped into him again. They put machetes to him again, and luckily one of the lads knew me and his brother, and he said, "Oh, I know your brother and your dad," so nothing happened. But it's it's just terrible. I just hope that something can change it, or
Yeah, I think I'm not being disrespectful anyway. I think they've got to go to jail. If you get caught with a machete in the street, they've got to instantly go to jail that day. It's simple as that.
Yeah.
No, you can't even that. What you can machete down the street for? It's not to peel potatoes, is it? You've got to try and go on. So if that's in your hand, you should be done straight away. Boom, jail straight away. Automatic jail.
Well,
the only way you're going to stop them, put them in jail for it.
The thing that I thought that, but the thing about these prison sentences, I mean, I know people, some of the lads that that killed my son's 2 mates, they got 25s and 30 years. And I thought that's going to be a deterrent for anyone else to do it. And then a few weeks later, someone else gets stabbed.
Yeah.
So I don't know even if the prison deterrents are doing anything.
Yeah.
Because it's still happening.
I think what we said in ours was, I think the main thing we need to get into the grassroots of the schools, in the junior schools, and teach them what knives can do, what drugs can do, before they're already on that path. Because when they're in the big school, they're already on that stony path. They're already selling drugs, carrying knives. So get in the schools when they're like 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old, teach the kids there what knives really do, what drugs do, and teach them that, because they have to learn them skills before. Because if they go on the street, they'll realise what knives can do, because they're not getting taught at the age. I think before they go on that stony path, get them off, keep them off it before they even get on it. Yeah.
I think also discipline from home as well is lacking. There's no, you're not allowed to, I'm not saying smacking your kids is good, but I think it did me good. And what my dad did to me instilled, I never forgot the lessons he taught me. and I think that's lacking from the home as well.
I think you're right, because when you think about all the old school, like Lemmy McLean, Roy Shaw's, all the top fighters, all them went to fought for years, all them got slapped when they were kids, all them got hardened as kids. Didn't do us any wrong. All the buds are all cool. Now the new era they don't get no discipline. They're all wrong.
I think that's the biggest part of it. There's no discipline, so I don't know how that would change, but.
So what do you think of the future for Matt Legg?
For me,
yeah,
I'm not sure. I don't know. The weird thing is, when I was 15 or 14 or 15, I knew what would happen in my life. I sort of knew that I was going to be involved in fighting, and it would be mapped out. And a lot of the things that have happened, I knew at that age that were going to happen. But as the future, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. As long as I think the main thing is keeping fit, keeping strong, training people, giving something back, training the boxers, and just trying to stay healthy and fit, and keeping my family healthy and safe. And that's my main worry, to be honest, is my sort of 3 boys. My main worry is the 3 boys. Just keeping them safe, keeping them out of trouble.
Yeah, brilliant. Is there anything you want to say before we go?
No, thank you. Just thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it, Brian. And big respect to you and Emma.
Brilliant. We had loads of people watching you on here, loads of comments, so it's going to be massive.
Oh, really? Oh, good.
We'll have you on again, Matt, if we can.
Yeah, thank you, mate. I appreciate that.
Okay, brother. We love you a bit.
Love you too.
Keep in touch. Okay, brother. Love
you too. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right up, so and broadcast.